Diggs was traded to the Buffalo Bills. So the Bills get, obviously, Stefon Diggs and a 2020 7th round draft pick. Now, Minnesota received a lot. A 2020 first round pick that is 22nd overall. A 2020 5th round pick. A 2020 6th round pick. And a 2021 4th round pick. Now, the money actually that Minnesota saved from this is just a mere $5 million against the cap. However, it did net them quite the haul. Diggs' production is actually going to be very hard to replace. He's had 1,000-yard seasons back to back, and he's a very good route runner. He can catch the ball in traffic. He can do a lot of things that you want him to do, and he has the speed to kind of burn you over the top, and he tracks the football very well, which is a very underrated thing that people don't talk about. But for as disgruntled as he was, it was very clear he wasn't happy in Minnesota. But Minnesota had leverage over Diggs, so it was a lot of, well, if we don't get the right offer, we're going to just keep you. And that's something I would like to say about this. I don't think this was the typical, he's disgruntled, get rid of him kind of thing, almost like what we saw with DeAndre Hopkins earlier. This, I feel like, was actual, like, they couldn't turn down the offer since, it gives them a first-round draft pick and a whole bunch of other things. They got 4 picks for exchange of Diggs and a 7th-round draft pick, and 7th-round draft picks are, they're whatever, typically. And so the compensation was actually really, really good. But like I said, it only saves him about $5 million against the cap, and per over the cap, that puts him at around $12.6 million. And one thing I would like to mention is that this does kind of create a different problem, which is among the receivers not named Adam Thielen, there is a combined 38 catches for 414 yards and 3 touchdowns. Olabisi Johnson having 31 of those catches, 294 yards, and all of those scores. So, yeah, they were already stretched super thin even with Diggs, and then you trade Diggs and all of a sudden Adam Thielen is your only receiver that's a viable option out there, at least a proven option. And, well, Thielen's going to be 30 by the start of the season. He also had a hamstring injury pretty much half of the year, just lasted throughout. And then he had an ankle problem in the playoffs as well. So you start to wonder, hey, how much can you handle? Are you getting too old? Do we need to do something about this? And then you trade away his 26-year-old running mate, who is arguably better than him. So, yeah, they definitely need to attack this, whether this is continued in free agency or the draft. And I do think they can go both routes. The veteran route, I can actually really kind of see if they are able to do things. Because in order to do that, I'd kind of look for them to address Anthony Harris and his franchise tag situation. Because what we could be looking at is potentially, with Diggs coming off of the books, we now, I think, have about 12 or 13 more $1 million in next season's cap, which means for Anthony Harris, we could put him on a long-term extension, and then we can lower his cap hit for this season while actually, paying him a lot more when we can actually absorb it down the line, which wouldn't be bad. I think that would be pretty good. The other thing that would probably have to happen, probably like an, rework of Riley Reif. There are some people who think he should be cut. I don't think he should, just because I don't believe we can really upgrade in free agency, and I feel like we would just lose him. So, and a lot of people be like, well, who cares? You can just move O'Neal over. And you can't do that as a person that used to be an offensive lineman, just, obviously not at, big-time NFL level. But you can't just flip sides that mirrors everything. Imagine, it's pretty much muscle memory for a lot of these guys and how their feet work and how their hands go. And then when you flip sides, they have to reverse all of it. All of it is mirrored, and that's why it doesn't always go too well. Which is why I think, okay, he works at right tackle. Keep him there. Let's not mess with it. We have enough offensive line problems in the past. We finally found one that's good. Keep him there. And so I would prefer to keep him at right tackle. And Reef can be a movable option because I think even if you moved him inside, you're not flipping sides, so it isn't completely mirrored. It is new footwork. He has played guard, but that was all the way back in college. And, he's on the wrong end of 30 now, so that was a while ago. And just Elfline was so poor in pass protection, you could realistically see an actual improvement over Elfline with Reef at guard and potentially a rookie at left tackle or some kind of veteran stopgap. Or you might be able to take some kind of veteran stopgap to put at guard, and then you can take a tackle and maybe redshirt him or that kind of thing. But nonetheless, you'd probably have to do something with Riley Reef as well, and then you can just create some money to play with here, because there are still guys like Robbie Anderson, Emmanuel Sanders is still out there, as of right now anyway, and they could also look to trade their second-round draft pick or one of their 2-3s, because they did get a compensation pick for Sheldon Richardson, which ended up being a late third. So they do have a surplus of picks now, and that could make some of those expendable. And maybe you can see, a more established receiver. So perhaps that. And Emmanuel Sanders did actually have a little bit of a stint with Kubiak down in Denver, so that's another one to kind of keep an eye on, I would think, because there is familiarity there. And with Sanders, he is getting older in age, but I don't think he would actually prevent Minnesota from taking a young receiver. Probably would prevent them from doing it in the first round. But when we go into the receivers, this is a stacked receiver class, and so with all the picks they have, they could go the route like, we'll just draft a young guy if they really wanted to. And if someone starts falling, they have the ammunition to trade up for that guy. If CeeDee Lamb fell further than they thought he would, or anything like that, they might be able to go make a move for that player. And you could also potentially just stay at one of your 2 first-round picks now and take a guy like Ayuk or Higgins, or once again, if there's a falling receiver, you can take him there. And just throughout this entire class, it's kind of been, it's not a very well-kept secret at this point that there's a lot of talent in this receiver class, and that's one reason why initially I was kind of against the idea of trading Stefon Diggs, because, well, A, they didn't save that much money, and 2, I kind of was thinking there's no way with how talented this receiver class is, someone is going to trade a bunch of things for Diggs, because why would you trade a bunch of things when you can just draft the young receiver and develop that guy, as opposed to, no, we'll take in his big contract and then we will also give you actual things for his big contract. And I kind of was thinking, like, right when DeAndre Hopkins got traded, like when I saw what he went for, I was like, well, we better be keeping Diggs now, because if Hopkins only goes for that, Diggs is not going to go for much. It turns out Houston might just not be good at this whole thing. Because even if you say the Bills overpaid, which you could say that, it's probably closer to fair than what the Texans got for DeAndre Hopkins. And I'm a little surprised they got this much, so yeah. Because you could still take a guy in the first round. Like I was saying with Ayuk, I think that one would actually fit pretty well. He's very Deebo Samuel-like, and in these West Coast offenses, you actually prioritize a lot of those run-after-the-catch kind of players. So if they can't separate all that great or run great routes, they need to be able to be a good space player, because all of a sudden you're throwing screens and slants and things like that, and you're getting guys into opportunities where they can run after the catch. So you need guys who can utilize that, and Ayuk is perfect for that, and Higgins is a vertical threat. Same reason why I was kind of throwing Robbie Anderson into this. That would really open up guys like Thielen underneath, because he works best when he is working underneath, when he's one-on-one and given those opportunities. In order to get those one-on-ones, you kind of need someone to take the top off, or someone who's just as good. And Diggs could do both, so we had no worry there. But if you add in a lesser guy, but he is at least got that deep speed like a Robbie Anderson, you could potentially see guys focus more on Adam Thielen, and all of a sudden we get more shots down the field, just because, well, if you're leaving that guy one-on-one and he can just run by your corner, they're going to try it every once in a while. And who knows? Things like that can happen. I would like to know your comments down below. Liking and subscribing, always helpful. And until next time, I bid y'all adieu.